Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Another day in my life watching movies. So, today I'm going to be rewatching a film by Illumination, which is Minions. I remember not liking it when I first saw it, but hopefully my opinion will get better when I rewatch it. So, should we watch it, Susie? Luke, don't watch it! Future me, what are you doing here? I'm here to warn you about Minions. Please don't see it. It's a really terrible movie. Well, to stop you worrying, I'm actually rewatching Despicable Me too. See? I've got it here to rewatch. Oh, you're watching that? Oh, my mistake. I must have travelled back in time to the wrong moment. Yeah, you came up at the wrong time. I'm not watching Minions, I'm watching Despicable Me too. Well, thank goodness you're watching a good film and not a bad film. You're doing the right thing, Luke. I tricked him to think I was rewatching Despicable Me too when I've already done it. So now I'm going to rewatch Minions without my future self stopping me. So let's do this, Susie. Why did I not listen to my future self? And why did I lie to him I was watching Despicable Me 2 when I was actually rewatching Minions? Oh no. Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So, today I'm going to be, of course, doing my next review in my review series of a franchise being Despicable Me. And this film is a prequel to the films, but unfortunately now we get to a film in the franchise that I absolutely hate. And for me, this film was the start of a decline for Illumination, which really sucks. And this film I'm going to be doing a trash talk for is none other than 2015's Minions! Just what on earth was this film? I know what it could be considered. This film for me is despicable, but not in a good way, in a very bad way. So, now, how was this film made then? So, this film, of course, is a prequel to the first two films released so far, and was directed by Pierre Coffin alongside Kyle Boulder, written by Brian Lynch. And it was greenlit in July 2012, and those castings taking place in 2013 all the way into 2015. And then after that, the film was then released. It debuted in London on June 11, 2015, and was then released in the United States on July 10th. The film received mixed reviews from critics, who praised the animation, voice acting, and the musical score by Heitor Pereira, but criticised the character development and humour, which some called unfunny and inappropriate, which I definitely would agree with. The film grossed $1.159 billion worldwide, and became the 5th highest grossing film of 2015, somehow, and the 10th highest grossing film of all time, and the 2nd highest grossing animated film of all time at its peak, somehow I must also add. It also was the highest grossing film by Illumination, until it was beaten by Mario in 2023, thank goodness for that. When it comes to my reaction to this film then, so, when I first saw this film, it was on Netflix, this movie, and I'd not seen it at the time when it came out in 2015, because by then I'd not seen Despicable Me 2 yet. But I decided to give it a watch to see what it was like, because I'd unfortunately heard from some of my friends it was a bad film. And when I watched it, yes, it was bad. I watched it and I absolutely hated it. For me, this is the worst of a franchise. I absolutely hate this movie. It's one of the worst animated films I've ever seen in my life. And like I said, for me it's the start of a decline for Illumination's movies, until thankfully Rise of Gru and Mario, in my opinion, save the franchise. That's what I'll say. So what is this movie about then? So, in this film, the Minions search for their replaceable evil master after they accidentally kill all of those in history. So, now, despite me hating this movie, there is maybe a fair few redeeming qualities I could say, which made me say it's not the worst animated film I've seen, but in my opinion, one of the worst. So, one thing in my opinion about this film is, what I'll say is, even though a vast majority of the cast members are screwed over, I will say the film has a stellar cast of actors who do try their best at what they're given, although in my opinion, most of it in my opinion was not worth it, which is a big shame. But in my opinion, there is a great cast of actors in this movie, and if you guys were to ask me what my favourite scene in this film is, There's only one scene in this film which actually made me smile, and that was the cameo appearance by Gru at the end of the film when he's a boy. That, in my opinion, was probably the only scene in this film which is worth watching. And Steve Carell, of course, reprises his role as him. And I gotta say, he does a very good job sounding like a younger version of his character. Does a very good job, in my opinion, voicing, of course, Gru as a little boy. Very talented, I must say, really. Shame we only got him for that one scene, though. Would have been cool to see more of him. Thankfully, the next movie, of course, after this, was much better when it comes to being a prequel movie. And I did also, as well, like Geoffrey Rush as the narrator of this film. Geoffrey Rush is a great actor, and it was good to hear his voice telling the story. I did like that. Although I will say that just like most cast members, he was also, in my opinion, screwed over. And for what is also worth too, the animation for this film is also good as well, in my opinion. I definitely really like the animation for this film. Many shots, in my opinion, looked realistic. So you can tell that the animation, despite, of course, this film being for my hate, was, in my opinion, slightly, of course, getting better and better with each of the years, which I did somewhat appreciate, at least. This one tried a good animation, at least. And I did also like the musical score by Aitor Pereira as well. I think he does a very good job composing the soundtrack for this franchise. And even though I hate this film, I'd say this film is no exception when it comes to his music. Because in my opinion, his music is good. That's what I'll say. But sadly, that's probably about it for the good quality of this movie. So, now on to the bad qualities. So, when it comes to the characters in this movie then, so I'd say this film is definitely a big example of when you should not do a film about, like, a certain character because it cannot work. And in this case, it's the Minions. I personally think they do not work when it's just them on their own. That's what I'll say. Because even though Pierre Coffin, in my opinion, did a good job playing the Minions in this film like he has done before, I still think that the Minions, as characters on their own, in my opinion, were very annoying, unfortunately. And I couldn't even follow them either, mainly because they speak gibberish, and because they barely had any interactions with human characters, apart from the ones you do get in the film, I couldn't make out what was going on. I was clueless when watching this movie. So, this could be one of those times when you shouldn't make a certain character be a main character in a film. And it's happened before in lots of films where they made a certain character before into the main character for another film, and it failed miserably. For example, Cars 2. And this could be another example of that. I think without Gru, this film was, in my opinion, and really doomed to fail, and it definitely did fail, in my opinion. When it comes to, of course, the actual supervillain in this movie, which is unfortunately not Gru, it's a character called Scarlet Overkill, and she's voiced by Sandra Bullock. Now, what I'll say is, I love Sandra Bullock as an actress. She's one of my favourites of all time, but I did not like Scarlet. I thought she was, in my opinion, very annoying, and I could not connect to her. Like, when you compare her to Gru, she's definitely, in my opinion, so weak in comparison. Gru, in my opinion, was far more entertaining and a character I could connect to in the first two films. But Scarlet, I did not like. And also, as well, the character's husband, as well, also appears in this, who is called Herb Overkill, who is voiced by John Hamm. And just like, of course, with Scarlet, I personally couldn't care less about his character either. Like, nothing he did in this film, same with Scarlet, entertained me to the point of me liking the characters, unfortunately, which really sucks. And you know how I said as well, this film has a great cast, which is unfortunately screwed over. I've already talked about Pierre Coffin and also Sandra Bullock and John Hamm. Another example is, unfortunately for me, Michael Keaton, which really breaks my heart because I love Michael Keaton as an actor. And in this film, he voices the character Walter Nelson. And what's so dumb is, he's billed in the main cast of this film, thinking like third place, yet he barely appears in the film. He only has like one scene where he takes the Minions to like a villain con, and that's it. Like, all he does is he takes them to villain con, and that's it. We don't see him again, which is a massive shame. Like, how could you bring in Michael Keaton, a great actor, and waste him like that? That's just, in my opinion, ridiculous. I personally prefer Michael Keaton in far better voice roles for him, like Porco Rosso on Toy Story 3, but in this film, he was, in my opinion, really screwed over and wasted, which I really hated. The same also applies to Alison Janney as Madge, who's Walter's wife. She was also wasted too. And when it comes as well to other cast members, aside from Pierre Coffin, who returns to watch the Minions, Steve Coogan also appears in this film, after he, of course, previously appeared in Despicable Me 2 as Silas Ramsbottom. And when I saw he was in the cast, I was thinking, was he going to be reprising his role as a younger version of Silas? But no, he didn't reprise the role of Silas, and we didn't even get like a hint towards his company he was working for, Despicable Me 2, no. Instead, he only appears in like 2 brief cameos as the old man tower guard, who of course is in the Tower of London, And then, of course, the scientist at Villain Con, Professor Flux, who can travel back in time, but he accidentally, of course, kills his original self, which causes all his self to be erased from history. So, I feel that, in my opinion, was an absolute waste of Steve Coogan, because he's one of my favourite comedians of all time. Like, how could you not bring him back as Silas, and then in the roles you give him, waste him? That's just so stupid, in my opinion. And also, Jennifer Saunders also plays him as Queen Elizabeth II too, also wasted, which really sucks. And also, as well, you also have Hiroyuki Sanada, one of my favourite Japanese actors of all time, as a sumo fighter villain called Dumo, and he was also wasted too. Like, how could you bring in Hiroyuki Sanada, a great actor, and also waste him too? I could ask that question about the film's entire cast, pretty much. And when it comes as well to Jeffrey Rush as a narrator, while he was one of my few redeeming qualities of this movie, I also really did not like how he was also wasted too, because despite, of course, having a billing in the main cast, even in the film's opening sequence too, where it says in the credits, and Jeffrey Rush, he only talks at the start and the end of the film. So, like, how could you give him the role of narrator and only having talk at the beginning and the end of the film? Like, I think if he talks more in the film, it will probably make the story make more sense, because the minions, of course, speak gibberish. Like, I think if he gave, like, funny narration, then it would have probably made the story a lot more entertaining than it, unfortunately, barely was at all. But sadly, we never got, which is a big shame. Also, when it comes to the story of this movie, personally, I think the story of this film is stupid. Like, there's tons of inconsistencies all over the place. And one question I've got is, who thought of the idea for a villain con? Like, seriously. Like, why build a place which is supposed to be the supervillains? Like, is that even possible? Like, and also, as well, how as well, for some reason, and as well, it was Bob who runs into a sword and a stone and pulls it free. And that cost somehow removes the Queen from the throne. Like, what? That was just, in my opinion, so stupid. And by the way, the sword and stone not even in London, it's in Italy in a museum. It's not in London. So that was, my opinion, stupid. And in my opinion, a job that I personally didn't find funny because it was inaccurate. So, all I can say is, the film, in my opinion, has a stupid story, and humour which, in my opinion, is barely even funny. Because literally, guys, like I said, the only scene in the film which I smiled at was Gru's cameo, and that's it. Literally, the only scene that I liked in the film was Gru's cameo. And that's unfortunate about it, because personally, I didn't find this film funny. I couldn't care about its story whatsoever. It just wasn't for me at all. Like, when you compare it to the first two films, it's just so disappointing in comparison. Like, I just can't believe this had to happen. So, all I can say is, screw this film all the way, and thank God I've done this trash talk. I see no reason why I should watch it again. After this, I've got Despicable Me 3 to review, which I'm not looking forward to, because nowadays I'm not really a fan of that movie that much. But thankfully, of course, I did really like Minions Rise of Gru. That, in my opinion, saved the franchise, so I'll be looking forward to reviewing that. But, as far as I'm concerned, Minions to me, it will always be the worst of the Despicable Me franchise. And probably for me, the worst overall out of the Illumination franchise that I've seen, definitely. Because I just don't like this film at all. To me, it's the worst one. So, if you guys want to ask me what score for film is out of 10, well, because I hate this film, it wastes a great cast of actors, has a stupid story, and humour isn't even funny, and tons of inconsistencies everywhere, I'm going to give this film a very bad score of 4 out of 10. Screw some more away. It's just so stupid, in my opinion. Plot holes everywhere, a story that I think is so rubbish, and a great cast being wasted. So, that's all I have to say about Minions. So, this week goes to my trash talk of Minions. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to vote in the comments what you guys think of Minions. Leave in the comments below what you think of it. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe who's coming in the future. And I'll see you all later.